Welcome to the New Heights Show on Education. I'm Pamela Clark, founder and director of the New Heights Educational Group, and I'm here with David Smith, the founder of Silicon Valley High School, who has helped us get these podcasts produced and delivered to you.
Yes, Pamela, when we saw the great things that you and your army of volunteers were achieving at New Heights, we wanted to get involved. We're happy to work with you to leverage the internet and make quality education accessible and affordable to everyone, everywhere.
Thank you, David. We appreciate Silicon Valley High School helping us to get these podcasts out to the hundreds of thousands of listeners from all over the world. So I hope you enjoy the show.
In this week's episode, we will discuss education reform on mission.
Hello, everyone. This is Danielle Washington coming to you live from Ms. Buffy Williams' office. We're just sitting around thinking about life and trying to become better people tonight, so check us out. Welcome back. You're on the air with Buffy Williams, and you have been listening to the New Heights Show on Education. We have been discussing the show's purpose on mission.
Good evening. This is your host, Buffy Williams, and you're listening to the New Heights Educational Group, the New Heights Show on Education. Tonight's topic is challenges faced by teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic. On last week's show, we explored virtual education during the pandemic, and tonight we're going to discuss the challenges and the victories that teachers have overcome as a result of this global pandemic. So join in the conversation. Call us at 917-948-7542 or drop your comments in the chat or tag us on social media using the hashtag NHEG or post your comments on Twitter at Buffy_Awaken or on Spreaker, Instagram, or YouTube. Remember, my fellow New Heights host Erica Hanson's show airs Thursdays at 2 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. As we look at the challenges faced by teachers during COVID-19, one of the things that comes to mind are the prominent challenges that teachers have traditionally faced. And before I get started, my resources for tonight's show are World of Education, and the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And there's also a blog called EdSense that I'm using for tonight's show. But one of the, 5 of the prominent challenges that were spotlighted in the articles for tonight's show are, number one was the personalization of the old thinking that one size fits all students. And we know that that is definitely not the case. And I know that teachers have had to deal with that challenge the more that we come into the new age of technology and advances in education and advances in the world itself. We have where it seems like we have more of a personalization of individual classroom curriculum that is maybe not that is not required of teachers, but it's definitely implied that there's supposed to be this one size fits all, and we know that that's definitely not the case. And I'm hoping that teachers don't feel as though they have to individualize their coursework. But I know that there are students that fall into particular categories that they have to work with, but the one size fits all is definitely an old notion that does not fit today's framework. And then one of the other ones is making the right use of technology. And we know that we talked about virtual technology in the classroom on last week's show, but making sure that teachers understand the technologies that they're using and receive the adequate training that they need in order to be successful within their classroom has been another challenge. And then classroom management, which definitely could be during COVID-19 if you're having classroom sessions, let's say at one time. Classroom management is totally a different in a different spectrum in the online setting, because there's only so much, of course, you can control there. But then you also have the parents that will be involved in that process. So you have kind of an opposite effect of the classroom management. You have the parents there, but you still have to communicate and take away from the class time in order to communicate with that parent at some point throughout the day, even if it's at the end of your day. And then also, teachers are being forced with this new aspect of global, or forced to kind of incorporate this global aspect and global awareness in the curriculum that they're actually bringing to the classroom. So education has evolved in many ways as far as the classroom learning style is concerned, and definitely is in regards to the curriculum. And then our students have changed as well. And so as we grow and we learn as a society and we become more of a global society, that has been, of course, the push for having a more global reach and a global outlook within our classes. And it kind of pushes the boundaries of exploration as far as the classroom is concerned. And some would even call it this digital era more of a holistic era in education, where it encompasses so many things from its initial design, that we have these new norms and new trends and new terms that are involved with education. And we realize that this will impact our student learners on their journey through the K through 12 area and the learning environment, and just the expectations of what do we actually require of our students in this different age of education and education system. And we know that teachers have, the foundation of a student-centered learning approach. There are various styles that can work. Sometimes students are learning in group settings, and they do group projects, and they're faced with different challenges. And, teachers, once they clearly identify what their learning style is for their teaching method, then it's easier for them to be able to observe and assess, what things are working within their classroom settings and what things they may need to tweak. And then in regards to the technology aspect of it, thinking definitely beyond just the basic computer, but also thinking about giving digital homework and making decisions that can be the data management of that, or the e-learning process can be engaging visually. Maybe even include some type of animation or digital assessment, so that the record keeping for the teacher can be more concise and more of a real-time grading system. And in doing that, if you, and having taught in an online setting myself, I know that once you do that pre-planning up front, if you plan your strategy well in advance, it's more clear, and it's easier for the students to be able to assess kind of how they're doing in the classroom, and of course the parents to be able to assess how the students are doing it in the classroom at a particular point in time, and using those platforms to kind of get a more precise picture of what's relevant, what approaches have already been addressed within that classroom setting. And then thinking about the classroom management and different learning styles, and these are challenges that teachers have faced in the past. And then we're going to kind of move the conversation over to COVID-19, but looking at, classroom management and thinking about behavior. If you have patience and you set your rules and expectations early on in the class, it generally proves to be a better classroom management throughout the year. And when teachers are faced with different curriculums or that challenge the student, creative thinking and cognitive thinking level, and to apply those things, over the lifelong skills and development of the student, is definitely something that is embedded within the learning plans now of curriculums. And teachers are, required to do these things, and it takes a lot of pre-planning and embedding the global aspect with virtual technology has, I would think, made it a little bit easier for teachers to be able to integrate the global awareness for the student and understanding, environment and social and cultural and political ways that things affect our society locally, on a state level, and on a global level. And so when we are thinking about the coronavirus and the pandemic and the challenges that teachers have faced, teachers have had to, everyone is using this buzzword now, pivot, and to a new direction. And so in pivoting into that new direction, I think that teachers are definitely rising to the occasion and providing all of those things that we expect for them to provide within this virtual learning environment. And they are very adaptable, teachers, when they're faced with these challenges, they rise to the occasion and they're able to be flexible during these pandemics or during these crises and develop a lesson or a plan to better aid our students and better aid the parents, whether they're using any of these online platforms, whether they're using Google Classroom and utilizing that format to upload materials and have assessments at the ready and go ahead and put their grading systems in, or whether they're using Zoom or chatting via text. And I know that they have the Remind now, which is completely anonymous, that teachers can use to remind students of different exams that are going to take place, or study groups. And a lot of schools are using those. And definitely, we never thought we would be using our phones to communicate with our students, but maybe 20 years ago. And then also using Google Hangout and email to kind of interact with your students, and definitely having most of your assignments and posting your grades in these online formats has made things pretty concise and pretty clear for parents if the parents are also technologically savvy. And so we don't want to take for granted that parents know those things either. But tonight's topic is the challenges faced by teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also the ways that teachers are rising to the occasion and being able to overcome these challenges. So stay with us, and I hope that you join us after the break.
Right now, you might be struggling through your classes or even failing them. You might be worried that you may not finish high school. There might have even been a thought that you may not be smart enough. Well, the New Heights Educational Group begs to differ. We not only think you are smart enough, but with our help, you will complete your high school diploma. The New Heights Educational Group strives to improve your academic success through its tutoring services. To learn more, please visit newheightseducation.org and contact us. New Heights Educational Group. Educational resources to help reach your goals.
This podcast is brought to you by Silicon Valley High School, the world's fastest growing, video-based, self-paced, teacher-supported, fully accredited online school that's recommended by more than 96% of students. Take individual courses at just $95 each, or earn your high school diploma at any age. Check us out at svhs.co.
Welcome back. This is your host, Buffy Williams, and you're listening to the New Heights Educational Group, the New Heights Show on Education. And tonight's topic is the challenges faced by teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also how teachers are rising to the occasion and being able to incorporate flexible demands that they have been faced with during this COVID-19 pandemic, and how teachers have, if we think about it, have adapted to the challenges throughout the years and implementing and coordinating new and inventive ways for students to learn within the classroom, and definitely using all of the online technology that is available today, Google Classroom, Zoom, and all these other aspects of online posting of grades and scoring of grades within the classroom setting. But we also, I think, sometimes may not fully understand that all parents are not at that level where they completely understand the technology either. And so if there is a gap there, then teachers fill in that gap for us, and trying to change, the stigma that you only call the parent when a student is doing something poorly. So you have all of these students in this virtual world, but then you also have the teachers reaching out to all of the parents and hopefully changing that stigma of, if my teacher's calling, I must be in trouble. So, you want to overcome that, definitely. And so teachers are having to definitely correspond with parents either through that platform so that the parent has access to it, because the students have to have access to it. But also I'm thinking about how our substitute teachers who come in when our teachers are not able to go to school, and how they're filling in the gaps as well. But I'm sure that this virtual learning in any subject area can be very challenging to teach virtually, and to try to come up with a method that is effective and efficient on the front end is probably the most beneficial. And depending on your subject area will definitely determine whether or not you can incorporate certain things within your actual classroom. So if you have a virtual math lesson that's recorded and it can be read aloud, the chapters in the book can be read aloud, and those are some options for teachers. And also video chat, so that students can take a kind of like a mental break from just looking at the screen, but they can actually listen to the teacher lecture, or having online postings where they can come back periodically so that the student is not staring at a computer screen the whole day. And so just varying the approaches of how they utilize this technology. And also, I know that school districts around the globe are sending home these Chromebooks and tablets that are loaded with programs for students to use. But we also, again, have to understand that just because a student has, let's say, cell phone knowledge or sense, does not mean that experience is automatically transferable to a Chromebook or a tablet and the functions that operate within that. Even though they're virtually somewhat the same, there will still be some functions within that in that virtual world that you have to work very closely with the students who are learning this new technology, especially maybe the younger ones or the ones who are not as tech savvy as some. And even those of us who utilize technology on a daily basis, we run into glitches. I know I recently ran into a few glitches myself with technology, and sometimes you think, okay, well, I did this last week and it worked perfectly fine. And then I do it today, and I've spent the last 30 minutes trying to get the same action to happen that kind of almost instantaneously happened on last week. And so I know that we've all had those days where technology just really is not working the way that we ideally thought it should. And we thought, oh, this would be a quick thing for me to do. I upload this or I attach this and I send that, and it's automatically done. But when you have that one-on-one, when you're in the classroom, of course you don't have that user error, which is probably the case on my end. But in thinking about the challenges that our teachers are facing during this global pandemic, teachers are rising to the challenge of this global pandemic, and they should definitely be commended every day for all the things that they do to aid our children in their educational success. But also, we want to keep in mind that, the decision for some schools to close schools and have strictly online and then still have our teachers come in. Our teachers still have to engage with each other for professional development in some level, and that still may be virtually, depending on your school. But the teaching profession has, met these challenges and been able to overcome many obstacles. And I know that they have some students who may have learning disabilities that they have also aided in providing, information to them and on ways to overcome some of these challenges that all of our students will face in the coming months as we go into this fall of our new academic school year. And so, in sharing this digital teaching and digital experience across the globe and these different learning methods, teachers can learn from each other by using these digital platforms and making recommendations to other teachers of, well, this particular thing worked for me. So in the spirit of community, we can demonstrate that, if I find something that works for me, then maybe it will work for you too if you have a similar school environment. And this COVID-19 pandemic has definitely pushed the boundaries of what we traditionally have known as our education system and the framework in which we operate. And so, again, I say that these challenges provide us with an opportunity to grow, and we understand that, our healthcare workers are getting to the point where they may be burnt out. And so we don't want a system where our teachers are burnt out just from trying to navigate this new world of technology and trying to provide all the things that our children need at school. And these teaching professions and this education systems are going through continuous changes, and that it's imperative that, of course, the school districts build trust, and we have to trust them to provide the quality education to our children, and trust that they will do the best that they can do within these unprecedented times. And so again, I find myself in a place of reflection as it relates to all the work and dedication and persistence that it takes for administrators and educators and teachers and janitorial staff, support staff, nurses, school bus drivers, commissions and county and city councils and school boards and state departments, all the roles that everyone has to play, and of course the students and the parents as well, the roles that we all must play in maintaining this thing we call quality education in America, and trying to come up with the best solution and the safest solution to provide these public services free of charge to, well, of course our taxes pay for that, but free of charge to every student who, is eligible to be fortunate enough to live in this great society that we live in. And so I want you to, again, thank your teachers for all that they do in rising to the challenge and overcoming the challenges that they face every day, but especially during this COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges that they're facing during this time. So I encourage you to, again, support your children, support each other, and support the school system in providing quality education for our children, and definitely for our homeschoolers. Our heart goes out to you as well. Our charter schools, public schools, private schools. We're all in this together because we all want our children to succeed and to have an extraordinary K through 12 experience, and so that they can be the great leaders that we know that they are for the rest of the world. And so my name is Buffy Williams, and you've been listening to challenges faced by teachers during this COVID-19 pandemic. And thank you for joining me on tonight's show.
We hope that you join us next week.
That's our time, and you have been listening to the New Heights Show on Education. I'm your host, Buffy Williams. If you like what you've heard, search for us on your smart speaker and listen to us anytime. Thank you for listening. Good night. Until we meet again next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we discuss next week's topic. Enjoy expanded content from the New Heights Education Group hosts on Blog Talk, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and Watch No Learn.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget to rate us and follow us on your podcast player. Check out our show page, radio.newheightseducation.org, for monthly announcements and other happenings.